so that I can share my presentation?
Sir, it is open, sir. I have not restricted to anybody.
But I think. There is some problem. It is not.
So there must be an upward arrow on right top of your screen. Upward arrow.
No, I am selecting that one, and then the screen share, desktop or window. I open that one. Windows, and from Windows I used to double click.
You can select entire screen.
Okay, entire screen.
Yes, yes. So first option is screen, so you need to select the screen and share.
I select the entire screen, but there are two entire screen, Windows and Chrome tab. Na? So while going to the entire screen, it is not responded. Why it is not responded? I think it should be on Windows, and then where my presentation is.
Sometimes Windows is it is not working properly. So
But
screen is the best option. Like sharing the entire screen is the best option. Yes.
I am taking this one. So it is selected, but once I double click, it is not responding. There is some issue, I think. Okay, I just. It just seems to be okay. I think some option is. Some because it is not allowing me to share the things.
So it is not restricted from my side.
Okay. Okay, I'm just checking what is the problem. Because I regularly use this one for my online classes. There's no problem at all. Naveen ji, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, you are audible, sir.
I think there is some issue from my side because it is not even allow me to share the things. So whether I can email this presentation so that you can share and I can go through from my side this side. कि कुछ यहाँ से वो सेलेक्ट ही नहीं हो रहा है आपका ऑप्शन.
ओके.
ये आपका लॉगिन के थ्रू एक्सेस तो नहीं करने के लिए कह रहा है बिकॉज आई एम यूजिंग योर लिंक डायरेक्टली.
सर आप ब्राउजर में यूज कर रहे हैं या ऐप डाउनलोड किया आपने?
नहीं, ब्राउजर में मैं यूज कर रहा हूँ. ब्राउजर से ही माइक्रोसॉफ्ट टीम के अलावा जूम पर, चूंकि आपके कैंडिडेट कितने हैं यहाँ पर 30 है ना?
सर अभी तो 15 लोगों ने ज्वाइन किया है.
हाँ, तो अगर इसको जूम में ट्रांसफर कर दे तो मुझे लगता है उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं होगी. मीटिंग लिंक
जूम पे कर दे सबको. सर रिकॉर्डिंग एक्चुअली हमने इसमें सेटअप कर रखा है. रिकॉर्डिंग हमको चाहिए होती.
हाँ,
तो वो जूम इसीलिए हमने गूगल मीट यूज नहीं किया बिकॉज दे आर नॉट प्रोवाइडिंग
रिकॉर्डिंग ऑप्शन. हाँ, वो भी डिसेबल हो गया है जो है कुछ दिन पहले. राइट.
यस सर.
लेकिन ये ऑप्शन नहीं आ रहा है, तो एक काम करते हैं, लेट अस मेल. ठीक है, मैं आपको मेल करता हूँ एंड देन
जी
लेट अस कोऑर्डिनेट. ठीक है ना? और वहां से आप जो है उसको मैं मेल करता हूँ आपको. राइट,
आप मेल करिए सर, मैं अपलोड करता हूँ. और उसमें एक ऑप्शन आता है रिक्वेस्ट कंट्रोल का, तो अगर वो आपको मिलेगा तो मुझे बताइएगा, तो आप वहां से कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं.
ठीक है. आई एम सेंडिंग माई पीपीटी.
हाँ
प्लीज चेक. आई हैव सेंट. प्लीज चेक योर मेल.
हाँ सर, अभी तो आया नहीं है मुझे.
थोड़ा सा जो है बस 10-20 सेकेंड लगेगा. couple of MB size.
यस सर, आ गया सर. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, it is visible. So switch over to the full screen mode.
हाँ सर, आपके में सर ऑप्शन आ रहा है क्या कंट्रोल रिक्वेस्ट कंट्रोल का?
Just I'm checking. Large gallery, turn off incoming video. ये आपका ऑप्शन कहाँ पर, ये मोर ऑप्शन में आएगा ना, मोर एक्शंस?
ऊपर सर आ जाता है, जैसे मैंने स्क्रीन शेयर किया ना, सो आपके पॉपअप होगा वो ऊपर आपकी मेन स्क्रीन पर ही आ जाएगा।
नहीं, आपका सिर्फ रिकॉर्डिंग का सिंबल तो दिख रहा है, नथिंग एल्स। इसमें आपका ऑप्शन नहीं दिख रहा है।
अच्छा सर, लेट विधि, आर यू देयर? कैन यू लिसन मी?
यस सर।
हाँ, तो विधि एक काम करिए, मैं आई एम जस्ट क्लोजिंग द सेशन। तो उसमें मैं आपको सर की पीपीटी आपको शेयर कर रहा हूँ, और आप अपने स्क्रीन पे जैसे सर बोलेंगे नेक्स्ट करने के लिए, तो यू जस्ट कीप ऑन सर के कनेक्ट में रहिएगा।
ओके सर, ओके सर।
आई एम जस्ट शेयरिंग द पीपीटी ऑफ प्रोफेसर सिंह। तो सर का शायद कुछ प्रॉब्लम है उसमें, इट इज कुछ टेक्निकल इशू है। जस्ट
ओके सर, सेम।
Vidhi, just check your mail. Have you got or not? I have sent the mail.
Yes, sir. Is my screen visible?
Yes, yes, it's visible with you.
Sir, it's done.
Okay. So can I start?
Thank you, Vidhi. Just let me introduce to Professor Singh. Professor Singh is a professor at Computer Science Engineering Department at IIT Lucknow. It's AICTE, Abdul Kalam Technical University, Lucknow. He did his PhD and Master of Technology at IIT BHU and BTech from HBTI Kanpur. It's known as Hardcore Butler Technological University. So the interest area of Professor Singh is pattern recognition, machine learning, social media analytics, medical image computing, and biomechanics. So he delivers so many talks on NEP. So we invited, and we are thankful to Professor Singh that he accepted our invitation and ready to deliver the talk on NEP 2020. We are welcoming, sir. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Naveen. So good evening to all of you. So let us start our discussion on National Education Policy 2020. So in fact, my focus is on what the main issues that are tackled in the NEP 2020, primarily related to school education and the higher education. And a major portion of our discussion is focused on higher education because we are all interested to know what are the transformational reforms are proposed by the Ministry of Education in this policy document called NEP 2020. So we know that what the education is basically. It is something, so just come to the next slide. It is a process of, the facilitating knowledge or acquiring knowledge or facilitating learning, skills, morals, values, and so on. Very, the fundamental things, habits, personal developments that are all essential we can expect through education. And you see, it is also a fundamental to achieve or to explore full human potential. Means an educated person has the ability to achieve their own full human potentials, developing an equitable and the just society where, regardless of social and economical differences. And of course, the major interest is for developing, or the promoting the national development or the national interest. So with these, the basic fundamentals, the government of India decided to go through for the major reforms in the education policy, and a policy document is investigated in in 2020, and that is basically known as National Education Policy. You see, primarily the vision of this NEP I have pointed out in the slide. Just a very brief sense, an education system that contribute to an equitable and vibrant, knowledgeable society. You know, in my coming lecture, what do you mean by the vibrant sense of, the institutions, vibrant sense of the infrastructure, a knowledgeable environment. So with this objective and by providing high quality education to all, starting from, from the school education and to the higher education. It develops a deep sense of respect towards the fundamental rights, duties, and constitutional values, which is essentially a mark of, always a questions what our graduates or postgraduates are basically coming through this existing education policy. Instills a deep-rooted pride in being Indians in thoughts, spirits, intellect, and deeds, as well as to develop knowledge, skills, values that support commitment to human rights, sustainable development, and living thereby reflecting a noble citizen that is globally, understood, or it can globally accepted. So with this brief vision of, this document is prepared, NEP 2020, and my discussion is basically focused on what the key principles of NEP 2020, and then I am trying to explore, the current statistics of Indian education system, then how the NEP is tracing or proposing the reforms in the school education by transforming curriculum, innovative pedagogy, multilingualism, and several other parameters, several other components, which I would like to highlight here. Then coming to the transformational reforms in the higher education's NEP is a vision document, basically, which is very much important to all of you, means what the challenges of the higher education system, then how the structural reforms are proposed here in this NEP document, quality and concept of quality universities, college, institutional restructuring, and there are many more things that are given in this document having 60-65 pages. So let us see what is proposing in this document. Come to the next slide. Yes. So what are the key principles? The key principles are briefly pointed out by the points that are listed here. What we can say, the respect for diversity and local context. Means diversity means India is a diverse, the country, a multi different, religions, caste, class, and a variety of things are there in their societal phenomena and paradigm. So we have to respect and also try to focus on what the local context of different regions. So it should be reflected in all curriculum, pedagogy, and policy. Means we should respect the diversity and local context, and it should be reflected in curriculum, pedagogy, and policy. Equity and inclusion, everybody is talking about, we have to access, we have to provide a full access to all students, irrespective of socio-economic background, so that, so that you can say the enrollment, or you can say the gross enrollment ratio can be optimized. So as the cornerstone of all educational decisions, every candidates, or you can say that every students who are willing to take, to take the admission in schools or in higher education systems or institutions, should be should be encouraged, and not only encouraged, provide an opportunity to enroll there. Community participations, it is a very essential part. It is highlighted in NEP, encouragement and facilitation for philanthropic, private and community participation. Means government is not basically give or take the advantage only to the, the public institutions are the only possible way to accommodate all, the students of different social and economic backgrounds in their schools or higher education institutions. But, different, every aspects of the society should be ready to take the opportunity or to provide the opportunity to these students. Community participations, private, other things. Use of technology, this is very important because we are now, the digital campaign which is started way back by the government of India, and huge number of, number of individuals are enjoying this umbrella of digital economy. So why not this use of technology can be better utilized in teaching, learning, removing language barriers for the young students, and in educational planning and management. So see, this is also very important, and the key principles and emphasis conceptual understanding rather than memorizing the things or the learning for exams. Concept based learning is to be promoted throughout this document, this visionary document of NEP 2020. Unique capabilities, we have to figure out and to identify the unique capability at each and every learner at any stage, recognizing and identifying them from each student at every stage of the learning, and we have to promote. And NEP document provides the mechanism of promotion of such unique capabilities. Critical thinking and creativity, I will discuss in detail in the coming slides. Critical thinking and creativity to encourage logical decision making and innovations, means at every stage of the knowledge acquisition, at every stage of the facilitating the learning practices, the critical thinking and creativity should be encouraged and it should be monitored properly. Continuous review, sustainable research, and regular assessment by educational expert are all part of your educational system. Next slide, please. So after this key, the principles of NEP 2020, let us see a short glance of Indian educational scenario, a short glance of the Indian education statistics. We see that, in the emerging countries, the level of education and literacy of the population play an important role for the development of overall transition of the advanced economy. But here in our society, in our system of education system, you see that we have very huge, the large portion of the youth population, a large proportion of the youth populations. Over half the population of our country is below the age of 25. You can say that this is the population which is now struggling for quality educations, for the universalization of access of high quality education, lacking of this scenario.
So let me check. There is, I think, internet problem with Modi.
Okay. Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was having network issue. I'm so sorry.
No. Please proceed. Okay. So please switch over to the full screen mode.
Yes, sir.
Next slide, please. Okay, yes, yes. Yeah, okay, good. So, so what I'm saying that India has a large portion of the youth population, and around half of the population is having the age below 25. So it means we have enough hands or brains, you can say heads or brains are basically available, which are looking for good opportunity. Good opportunity means what you can say the high quality education, whether it can be from the school education or it can be coming from the higher education. So, and you see the supports and the supports like the adoption of the ICT, information and communication technology, like the Digital India campaign or Digital India program. It is really a good opportunity to the planner, to the educationist, to the teachers, faculty members. Why not we can use this ICT infrastructure available all around us to in education, so that we can provide a universal access to the quality education to all of them, which is essentially hard. Without using this technology, we are really struggling. Our education system is struggling to provide equal opportunity to all of these brains, available brains, for the quality educations. So ICT can be effectively utilized to deliver improved education and teaching. For example, Pradhan Mantri Gramin Digital Shiksha Abhiyan, which is adopted around 4 or 5 years back. So this type of infrastructure can be essentially helpful, but it is yet to be utilized in promoting the education. So the adoption of technology in education in increasing and improving through not at the pace required, means what we can say up to extent what is expected, it is hardly to reach up to that expected outmark. Yes, next slide, please. And if we talk about the global scenario, means the budget of global budget spending on education, then we can see that the schools globally spent around nearly 12 lakh of crore of rupees on education technology, forecast spending to grow, and this is annually grow by the 20% rate. But you see that in our Indian scenario, we are really struggling. Struggling means from the government, we hardly get sufficient funds, or the sufficient funds are available for the promotion of education. So this policy document seriously evaluated these facts. Means if we talk about the investment in education technology, the use of computers or other technology to enhance teaching, although it is growing annually with a high pace, but we are still lagging. So the adoption of new technology is still lagging, however often attributed to the unwillingness of the teachers and the students to adopt technology. And this is actually the cultural issue. Cultural issue in the sense that where we are growing, it is indeed very hard. For example, we all had observed such type of scenario in this era of the pandemic from last 2 years. Most of the engineers see that the teachers, faculties, and the students, they are hardly adopting such technologies, means online learning platform, to provide the quality educations. And the same is true for the other side, means the students, means unwillingness of teachers and students to adopt the technology, and we are actually suffering to take the advantage or to grasp the advantage of the information and communication technology. So this is another challenge. Next slide, please. So once let us see about in this particular slide, I presented about the gross enrollment ratio. What proportion of students that basically avail the opportunity to get admission in school and colleges. So at the elementary level, around 97%, it is satisfactory. Secondary level, 80%. But once we come to the higher education level, this data is of 2018-19, around 26.3%, but just over 26% of the GER we are providing to our students. So which is really a sad story. We are living in the era of ICT, and India is leading in the ICT, but rarely use the ICT to enhance this GER. Means that can only compete, only way to compete the GER of the developed countries. I will show you in the little later on. So the low, another factor is the low retention rate, around 70.7% at elementary level. Means retention rate means the students who got admitted in their class and they must have to finish the class, means a program. So just 70% of at the elementary level, that is the retention rate. It means 30% of students, they are primarily leave the class for their completion, and at the secondary level, 57%. So the poor, this low retention rate is, of course, one of the factor is poor learning outcomes. The people are not interested, means the parents are not interested to send their children or kids to take, to go to the schools and acquire the knowledge of learning. It is a very serious issue. So, and the reason is, that is, I written here, is the low quality education. Most of the time we hear that, usse hoga kya? Because they hardly find any change in the, the overall, the thought process, skills, knowledge, their learning, values, morals, belief, anything. If the parent is not able to see the changes in these parameters or characteristic values of their kids, then it is hardly to send their kids to the school. So because of the low quality education, or the education without, the objective. Yes, next slide, please. So in these particular tables, we can see that the gross enrollment rate with respect to the different levels of education, primary, upper primary, secondary, senior secondary, and higher secondary, and the annual dropout. One of the serious issue of the annual dropouts is at the secondary level, and of course at the higher higher education level. And in between that one, there is a one table. The reasons of dropout are primarily socio-economic. So yes, means socioeconomic means there are some gender factors, some economic conditions, means sociological conditions or social conditions, their regional conditions, geographical conditions. So these are the factors that are responsible for the dropouts. And NEP basically evaluated and explored all these things very seriously, and then they basically proposed the reforms in the school as well as higher secondary. Next slide, please. Now, this slide talks about the data, very obvious data we all are aware, means the scarcity of the higher education institution, good quality of higher education institutions. Although this data is excluding from the IITs and IMMs, which are, you can count on the fingers. But beyond to that, once we talk about the universities and other similar institutions, around 800, the colleges are around 40,000. And state funded institutions are around 11 or 12,000. You see, but once we talk about, about half of our Indian population is having the age below 25, it means they are just fighting to get admission in these institutions. A very few number of institutions, or it is a very small number of institutions. So anyhow, we have to not increase means the quantity wise, the quality education's institutions, but also the quality wise. And the gender disparities, of course, it is very obvious point. For example, if we say that 15-16, it is means male and female, that is 0.92. And of course, we are all agreed from last 2 or 3 years. Now the females are means the strength of the females are growing a very good pace, or you can say in a very good numbers. So by the year, for a couple of years, we certainly reach to the equal gender, the index means equal number of, the male and females in the coming years. And of course, by the 2030, as the NEP projected. Next slide, please. So this, in fact, this slide tells about, on the left side, what is our data, our gross enrollment ratio in the higher educations, around 26% at 18-19. And on the right side table, it shows that, the GER value in the developed country like USA. You can see the first is, this is an histogram, which is the first bar shows that 88 or 95%. So this type of figure, means gross enrollment ratio and ER. ER stands for the total, the strength which is looking to get admission in the institutions. And almost out of 95, the USA is happily to provide the admissions around 88 or 89. So it means almost all, the candidates who are deserving to take the admission, they definitely get the admission in the quality institutions. But in our country like India, we can see that 63.7, yes, absolutely 63.7, and out of that, we are able to accommodate only 26. So there is a large gap. And you see, I wrote here, the global average is 29. We are actually lagging from the global average, just, the 26.3 as far as the higher education enrollment is concerned, right? And what the NEP says, NEP basically observe this deficiency very seriously, and they fix the target. Government of India fixed the target by the we have to reach 50%. This is 20. This is not 20. We have to reach by 2040. We have to reach to the GER of 50% by 2050. 2040. Sorry, 2040. So it means we have to make drastic changes, the quantity as well as the quality wise. Next slide, please. So by this, the next slide, please. Now, these are the statistical facts. There are some other challenges, quality education challenges. You see, without knowing the facts, means the present scenario of Indian education system, it is very hard to, to understand and to explore and to imagine about means what the NEP is proposing. So that's why I am giving some time here to actually understand the present education system problems here in India, and then we have to see what the proposed schemes of the NEP is talking about, all about. So we have a multi-grade, means the quality education challenges enable this multi-grade and multi-level classrooms, lack of interactive pedagogy and ineffective remedial instructions, inadequate attention and actions for likely dropout, means we hardly think about the dropouts. Either teacher or management, school management or principal or agency or the government or the policy maker, they hardly think of means the dropouts. The professional development courses, trainings do not cater to these real needs, and the poor coverage, low adoption of existing technologies, means what we can do, means we have good infrastructure of ICT, we have now the technological advancement support of AI and ML. Why not we can use these techniques or technologies for promotion of education universally within the country, right? So these are the factors that we have to face the challenge, right? Next slide, please. So after exploring these facts, after exploring, after knowing these problems of Indian education system, what the NEP is talking about. So for the first point, NEP is looking for the universal access to early childhood care and education. They have given the word ECCE. What it means that early childhood care and education, where the parents or the schools hardly cater about our kids in a proper way. This vision document talk about, no, we have to give more emphasis or greater emphasis at this stage of learning. So what we can say that this in this stage, for example, if we talk about the preparatory classes, so prior to age of 5, every child will move to the preparatory class or Bal Vatika, right? Foundation learning curriculum means for age group of 3 to 8, means that is divided 3 to 6 and 6 to 8. That is the age for class 1 and class 2 students. So foundation learning, we should have a concrete curriculum for the foundation learning. Then what we are looking for, we have to universal access, means for the child of 3 to 6 years, access to free, safe, high quantity early child care and education at every preschool level, whether it may be Bal Vatika, it may be Anganwadi, or any, the preschool. So this is ECCE. It should be the access to free, safe, and high quality. And then multifacets, what we can say that flexible, multi-level, play-based, activity-based, and inquiry-based learning. We have to discourage the learning through books. We have to discourage the learning through, the copies or pen and pencils. We have to encourage through, the activity-based, inquiry-based, play-based, flexible, so that in this way we have to design the curriculum like this way. So that is early childhood care and education, which is greatly emphasized in NEP 2020. Next slide, please. Ensuring universal access to education at all levels. Try to understand the word universal. Universal means every individual, either girl or boy, every individual of any societal or economic background must ensure to access education at all levels. It may be the multiple pathways to learn involving both formal and non-formal education modes, build schools, promoting both governments and non-government organizations, means community participations, private participations, learning outcomes, focusing Focus will be on achieving desired, the learning outcomes. Bring back to the dropouts, which is likely to be dropouts. We have to identify first a priori and then to bring back. Alternative centers, innovative education centers should be there, and the peer tutoring means the business and personal presentations should be encouraged. Next slide, please. So the outcomes of the ECC is something like universal access, universalization of access. It means all children of the age group 6 to 14 must be enrolled through the ECCE based curriculum. Ensure equity and inclusion. No child is left to get admission from the school. So this, the strength of such type of, the children is around 2 crores out of the school children we have to bring back. Attain, the sustainable development goals, which are fixed around 2015 in the UN, that ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunity to all of them. So we have to attain the goals of the SDG. India is the member of the Charter of retaining all children in schools until completion of secondary education. Now improve quality and achieve learning outcomes. So at least to get the foundational literacy and numeracy means the basic learning things or learning habits for reading, writing, and the numerical abilities to solve the questions of around the class or standard 5. This type of foundational literacy and numeracy, which is called as FLN, should be acquired by these kids. And certainly, in consequence, 21st century skills in teaching, learning, and assessment. Resource sharing. There is a new concept adding here. Means a cluster of schools should be formed and they basically share their resources, exchanging their resources like teaching aids, personal materials, and other, the resources, so that every student get benefited from the other centers or the other schools, provided that no one is left from any particular facility which is available to some other institutions or a school or not available their own school. So effective governance, overcoming the language barriers of learning, very much emphasized in the NEP, the language barriers. I will see in the coming slides, means the learning in the local languages, their native language, regional language, and their national language. The 3 language system is proposed here in the NEP, and every educational institution must have to follow, or every agency, regulating agency, have to force to the institutions to deliver their knowledge in the language, like native language, regional, and of course one national language. So common standards for public and private school education is also or must be adopted. Next slide, please. So this is very interesting. We are now talking of 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Means 5 is standing for the foundational stage. So once we talk about on the left bar, the set of bars shows about 10 plus 2 system. Here, this NEP document is talking about 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Means this foundational stage at, foundational stage means the multi-level play activity based learning is standing from the lower bottom part of this one. It means the 3 years for Anganwadi and preschools, Balvatika, and the 2 years for class 1 and 2. So this is the foundational stage. We have to take the extreme focus on what is called as the ECCE system. And then next is the next 3 stands for the preparatory stage, means class 3 to 5 years preparatory stage, play, discovery, and activity based and interactive classroom learning. That is class 3 to 5 preparatory stage. Then next 3 stands for the middle stage, means 6 to 8, class 6 to 8. That is experiential learning in the science, mathematics, arts, social science, and humanities, because this is a very, very important stage as far as the human learning is concerned. And then next 4 years means class 8 onwards, means 9 to 12, means 4 years, 9 to 12 is 14 to 18. This is the multidisciplinary study. It is not restricted to the boundaries of science and arts or commerce or humanities. Multidisciplinary study, greater critical thinking, flexibility, and student choices of subjects. So complete, transformation at the school level is proposed here in this NEP document 2020. Next slide, please. Yes, next slide. Yeah. So here, once we talk about the ECC, early childhood care and education, then learning in the formative years, what you can say that developing curiosity. What is the overall, the objective of this ECC system is just try to understand developing curiosity. Each learner have to, develop the or to know to know the or to curious to know about the facts, about the environments, about their surroundings, his or her surroundings, logical thinking and problem solving, arts, crafts, and music, relationship with nature, colors, shapes, alphabets, and numbers. And instead to see what is happening, why it's happened like this. So these are the questions must be answered by by instructor or the teacher. Teamwork and collaboration, play-based and discovery-based learning, ethics. But we can say that in this the character building, self-identity, etiquettes, behavior, and emotional developments, which are actually missing in our present educational scenarios or educational learning or teaching learning environment. So these things must be promoted here. Yes, next slide, please. Reduction in curriculum. We are talking about the transformation at the school level education. So there is a drastic reduction in curriculum. What we should focus on? There is a need to focus on core essentials. Means the curriculum in all subjects to be reduced to its core essential. What is ultimate or what our knowledge is essential? That could be that can be the only part of your curriculum. Critical thinking. We have to promote these things. Focus on critical thinking, inquiry, discovery, discussion, and analysis-based teaching, and learning methods for holistic educations. Interactive classes. It means interactive teaching with reduced dependency on textbook learning. Questions from students will be promoted, means the questions are generally grow in this in that environment of the classes where they instead to learn from the books, learn from the environment, from their surroundings, from their interactions. Experiential learning means there, of course, fun, creativity, collaboration, exploratory activities in classrooms for experiential learning, and deeper student learning, for all such things. Yes, next slide, please. So after all this school transformation at the school level, because these are the future of our country, the students at the school level. So computational thinking, the people of little bit of knowledge of computer science or computer things or courses, Once we talk about the computational thinking, means the thinking with the machines, computational machines. So what we can say, we have given the emphasis of that type of learning. That is something to devise the algorithm. That is something not only to devise the algorithm, to solve the problems through some systematic way of, systematic way of providing the solutions. Not only that one, computational thinking is also the part of to develop the coding behavior. Coding behavior means how a computer can able to understand the things, means how a program is developed so that a computer can able to think and to get the expected results. So these type of, the thinking process or thought process can be inculcated to that young brain. Mathematical thinking and problem solving means inculcate mathematical thinking and problem solving through a variety of innovative methods, including the regular use of puzzles and games. So these are actually the experimental characteristic or the phenomena of learning practices that we have to promote. Coding and analytical thinking activities involving coding will be introduced in the middle stage, including contemporary subjects in school. Instead of, to focusing only on our core essentials, we have to teach some contemporary subjects at the middle and secondary stage, like, the artificial intelligence, machine learning, some design thinking, holistic health, organic living, environmental education, global citizen education, and there are many more facts that we hear all around in our day-to-day life. So these things must to be promoted. Next slide, please. And after reforming the standards of schools, means school education, 5+3, 3+3+4, the NEP document proposes the reforming in the examination in grade 9 to 12. That includes the board exams. So for you see that board exams will be made easier as they will test primarily core capacities and competence. There must be some viable models that need to be explored. Annual, semester or modular exams, 2 parts exams, objective types or descriptive type, means if there are a variety of, the things that need to be explored, and then finally decide which pattern is fruitful to the students or in that environment. Guidelines will be prepared by the NCERT and, the State Council of Educational and Research boards of assessments. And of course, this document proposes a new national assessment center like PARAK. It means the performance assessment, review and analysis of knowledge for holistic development. So after consulting all these agencies, there is a need to propose examination reforms at the various levels. So teachers to be prepared for a transformation in the assessment system by 22-23 academic sessions, and each school board shall ensure equivalence of academic standards in learner attainment. So standards, norms and guidelines for school boards through PARAK National Center. So there is a one system is established or proposed by NEP, that is named PARAK, and it is basically a central agency or National Assessment Center which works with the different National Council for Education Research and Training, NCERT and the state councils and the different boards to propose these examination reforms. Yes, next slide, please. And there is certainly, there is a need of transformation, the culture of assessment, because most of the time the students are quite, dissatisfied with their assessment process or the adopted or the traditional way of assessment process. So that's why this NAP document is talking about continuous tracking of continuous assessment process. Exams should be more flexible with assessment of essential skills. Not unnecessary burdens should be placed. Assessment on the focus on core concepts, higher order and fundamental skills instead of memory type of things. AI-based software certainly helps in this direction to the stakeholders of the educations, either students or the faculty members, all the policy makers, to make optimal decisions on the assessments. National Assessment Center is already in proposal. In self-assessment and peer assessment, the National Testing Agency is also, which is proposed in NEP, is functioning well. We all basically see that or observe the function of NTA over the different national level competitive exams like JEE Mains, JEE, NEET, and other, the national level exams are successfully organized. So next slide, please. This is very important when we talk about the language barrier. We have to finish the language barrier because this is really a great challenge to the students to take after getting the admissions in a good institutions. Then they are indeed facing problems because of their poor language or because of the difference in the language, what they speak and what they are basically there to grow. So the medium instructions up to grade 5 and preferably till grade 8 and beyond will be home language, mother tongue language, or you can say the local language. It makes mandatory here in this NAP document. The language of India, a fun project activity on to be taken by every student. 3 languages to be taught will be decided by the state UT, means their native language, regional language, and one, the language of India. All classical language will be widely available in schools as options. Means we must encourage the students to learn in their own language, and every language must be respected. Next slide, please. Another next slide. So you see that after proposing the reforms in the school education, let us see about in the higher education, which is really very interesting for all of us, since we are all observing and facing the challenges and drawbacks on the issues of the higher education scenario all around us. So the major, the challenges in higher education system here is something. Certainly have the lesser number of higher education institutions and suffering from different problems, and they are all problems related to their quality educations. So what the prime among ones is the fragmented higher education ecosystem. The meaning is, there is a rigid separation of disciplines. Means the courses are separated into, either mathematics based courses or science based courses, humanity based courses, art based courses. So that create hurdles in the overall a comprehensive, the development of the learning perspective of any learner or students. So that is the one prime issue of the, instead of, means our traditional curriculum system is something like that. That is that separates the topics basically from different disciplines. Next is there are lesser emphasis on the development of cognitive skills and the learning outcomes. What does it mean? Once we talk about the cognitive skills, then we are certainly interested about the brain-based skills or brain-based activities. Under these activities, certainly the thinking, learning, reasoning, reading, and knowledge acquisitions are the prime ones. So NEP basically pointed out NEP is pointed out about this scenario. Just excuse me. Hello. So what I'm saying, so this development of cognitive skills and learning outcomes are missing something, right? Limited access to the higher education institutions means the socio-economically backward areas. What I mean to say, the institutions means higher education institutions are located either in metropolitan cities or capital cities or the urban areas. So they are hardly available in this, and they are backward areas. So lacking local language teaching. A very important thing is most of the higher education institutions provide teaching in primarily in English language. So that is a prime challenge. Limited academic autonomy. Most of the faculty members might understand the facts of teacher autonomy and institutional autonomy hardly available. Inadequate mechanisms for faculty development or institutional leaders, like this program of faculty development. So these practices are basically developed within just a couple of years. Prior to that one, there was nothing, any such activity or faculty development programs or some pedagogy type of learning practices or things or training. So, and of course, we do not have the adequate mechanism for that one. Lesser emphasis on resource and resource environment, what you can say, research and research environment. It means the lack of competitive research funding across disciplines. Our faculty members, or for example, if any student have any or proposing the good idea or having the good idea, we hardly basically provide or to provide a good support. Good support means with finance, because we do not have enough funds. Ineffective regulatory system means the regulatory agencies and their role is not effective. Large affiliating universities, resulting low standard of UG education. So these are the some prime factors that we observe in higher education scenario. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So NEP is proposing about the structural reforms in higher education. What these reforms are, I just underline. The first one is every higher educational system or higher educational institution must be a large multidisciplinary university or college. Instead to localize, for example, IIT is known for the technical education, known for engineering education. So this restricted boundaries, this separation of topics and courses should be eliminated, and the institutions like these IITs or IIMs must provide the multidisciplinary the education. So HEs, higher education systems, a large multidisciplinary universities or colleges at every district
and more institutions across India, and their medium of teaching in their local or Indian language. This is the prime one. So IDP is proposing the structural reforms, the first one. Another one is more interdisciplinary UG education, means which combines several fields of study and academic interest. Multidisciplinary undergraduate education. Autonomy to faculty and institutions. A change in curriculum. There is a need to renovate curriculum, pedagogy and assessment, reaffirming integrity of faculty, means through merit-based appointments and career promotions, teaching, research and services. Governance of higher education institutions, means there should be some independent boards for academics as well as administrative activities. There should be a light but tight regulation. Should be clear regulation, but means there is a single regulator for higher education institutions. Not too many regulations, but it doesn't mean they are open to free and to enjoy the freedom. No, light but tight regulations. Increased access, what you can say that through this technology, equity and inclusions for disadvantaged and underprivileged class of students. So through online education, open distance learning, we have to increase access with equity. Right, next slide, please. Now we have to structure the quality universities and colleges. We know that the higher education significantly contributes sustainable livelihoods and economic development of the nation, and the role in promoting human as well as societal well-being. This is beyond to their teaching and learning or teaching and research work. So here this NEP sets the aim of this higher education in the 21st century, something like education with cognitive skills. Means we have to develop good, thoughtful, well-rounded, creative individuals in our institutions, in our, in our classrooms, having these type of cognitive skills, multidisciplinary learning. The major emphasis of this NEP document is provided through, about this from integration of different courses in a single programs, so that enable an individual to study one or more areas like science, social science, art, humanities, language as well, and the professional, technical and vocational subjects. So that is multidisciplinary learning. It develops societal and cognitive skills. That is the meaning, means what you can say that the character, ethical and constitutional values, inculcating these values, intellectualness, scientific temper, creativity and the spirit of service at a deep level. We can say that the overall outcome of this education with cognitive skills and multidisciplinary learning is to develop societal and cognitive skills. And then overall, we have to develop the holistic individual, means that have a known set of skills and values that will be incorporated at each stage of learning. So that is the vision of quality universities and colleges given in the NEP. Next slide, please. Although it's talk about the institutional restructuring, the meaning of this institutional restructuring means what? So let us first see what is the ideal meaning of a university. University is a place, or you can say a multidisciplinary institution of higher learning, or you can say it is a place of offering multidisciplinary higher learning. Either it may be at the UG level or the PG level or the research. with high quality, means teaching, research, and community engagement. So it is an institution of higher learning with high quality, offering teaching, research, and community engagement. So in this institutional restructuring part, the transformation of higher education institutions into large multidisciplinary universities or colleges. So we have to develop clusters or knowledge hubs that can accommodate more than 3,000 top students at each clusters. We have to identify the research intensive universities or teaching intensive universities. Once we talk about RIU, then it means that equal emphasis on teaching and research. And once we talk about the teaching intensive universities, it means that greater emphasis on teaching, but of course, some research, you have to conduct the research there. There are some autonomous colleges. The NEP proposes the autonomous degree granting college, means a large multidisciplinary institutions of higher learning granting UG degree. In fact, one of the recent news from the UGC prepared the document in accordance in the continuation of this NEP 2020 to basically facilitate these autonomous colleges and give the status. And they are proposing, through regulations, through autonomous degree granting college instead for their affiliating structure. So a transparent system of graded accreditation means every autonomous college can be converted first to the constituent college of a university and then becomes a full university. So every autonomous college could evolve into either a teaching intensive university or a research intensive university with appropriate accreditation. So these are some technical, the structuring or the framework that NEP is proposing. Yes, next slide, please. The education would be more holistic and multidisciplinary. So that is holistic and multidisciplinary education. So the integration of UG educations means is, beyond the boundaries of humanities and arts with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to overall comprehensive development of the learner, and their outcomes is very obvious. Since if we learn out of the box, out of the boundary, certainly creativity and invention, critical thinking and higher order thinking capacities, in-depth learning across fields, problem solving abilities, teamwork, communication skills, and many more things. What not our student can basically have if we do such type of, we create such type of scenario. And this holistic and multidisciplinary education develops capacities of human beings. And these capacities are repeatedly, outlined throughout this NEP document: intellectualness, social, physical, emotional, moral, in an integrated manner, development of soft skills, interpersonal skills, means communication, discussion, debate, time management, cognitive and emotional abilities. They have to be inculcated in the students. Next slide, please. So I am talking about I am talking about the transformation in the higher education that are proposed in this NEP 2020. So what next is the flexible curriculum structure. Once we talk about, the learning beyond the boundaries, beyond, the disciplines, then a flexible curriculum structure should be there. What does it mean? It means that creative combination of disciplines to study, means multiple entries and multiple exit points. This is very interesting. A new phenomena that is proposed in this NEP document. Flexible and innovative curricula means credit-based courses and projects in the areas. And the projects are, you see, instead to a very traditional the outlooking based the project. Here they identified the areas or the domains where the students should be encouraged to take the projects like climate change and pollution, waste management and sanitization, management and conservation of resources, very essential thing, forest, wildlife and biodiversity, sustained development and living. For example, the smart cities, what are the problems in the smart cities? Like health, agriculture, education, role of technology in health, agriculture or education, role of AI and ML, machine learning in health, agriculture and education. So these are the real challenges that we must have to address once we talk about sustainable development and living, for example, in the smart cities. So these type of projects should be handled by the students. Flexible structure means length of degree programs. It may be 3 or 4 years. UG program means multiple exit options. First year to get the certificates. At the second year, after completion of second year, a diploma. Completion of third year, a bachelor degree, and after 4 year, the multidisciplinary bachelor degree with research. So such type of the flexible structure. Flexible design of the PG program also. For example, it can be a 2-year program where second year entirely focused on the research, and this is for the 3-year bachelor degree students. It may be the 1-year PG program, and this program is offered to 4-year bachelor degree program with research students, or it may be a 5-year integrated bachelor degree or master degree programs. So such type of flexible design of PG. Model public universities for holistic and multidisciplinary educations. This must be set up like Miro to attain the highest global standards in the quality education. So these are the some framework is proposed. Next slide, please. Research and innovation. This document basically primarily focus on research and research environment. And once we talk about the research and innovation, then this NEP proposes for setting up the different centers, specific centers for specific purposes. For example, incubation centers, startup and incubation centers at different institutions, technology development centers, centers in frontier areas of research, like what we talk about the projects, industry and academia linkage, interdisciplinary research means research oriented with humanities and social sciences disciplines. Undertake research in areas like infectious disease, epidemiology, virology, diagnostics, vaccinology, because all such things are essentially needed by the society, and society is looking from all of us, from the stakeholders, the teacher, the students, and the policymakers. So that is different centers are proposed. Optimal learning environment and support for the students means appropriate curriculum, engaging pedagogy, continuous formative assessment, adequate student support are necessary. Next slide, please. Then we say that internationalizations. We must have to provide opportunity to our students for greater mobility. For example, to visit, study at, transfer credits to carry out research among the different institutions within the country and abroad, and vice versa. We have to basically attract the international students to visit here. And the courses of study, Indian language, Ayush, yoga, Ayurvedic, yoga, art, music, history, culture, and modern India. These courses that we need to offer to open to the students. Certainly, students are the prime stakeholders in the education system. So we must have to provide the mechanism for or to develop the vibrant campus life. And it is indeed essential for high quality teaching and learning process. Financial, we must provide the financial support to the students. And you see that the success of higher education institutions depend on the quality and engagement of its faculty members. What does it mean? We must have a motivated, energized, and capable team of the faculty members. Faculty motivated towards the teaching, research, and their duties of their services. Not excessive teaching duties, including what you can say we have to maintain an ideal SFR student faculty ratio. Next slide, please. And we must have to provide the flexibility to our faculty members, our departments, our institutions to design their own curriculum and pedagogy approaches. And further, we have to empower the faculty to conduct innovative teaching, research, and services. So we should have some promotion schemes for the faculty members, faculty rewards, promotions, recognition. And this NEP document is basically highlighting or pointed out a clear, transparent, and independent process of faculty selections, faculty recruitments, a fast-track promotion system, because there are many universities within the country where the always struggling for a recruitment of good faculty members. Promotions are lagging or facing challenges for promoting the faculty members. But there should be a clear, transparent, fast-track promotion system, and the promotion for high-impact research and contributions. Excellent faculties with high academic service credentials, demonstrated leadership and management skills will be identified and get trained, get motivated for their leadership positions. Next slide, please. After that, a very interesting point of equity and inclusion in higher education. Everybody is talking about this. Means we should have to provide equitable access to quality higher educations to all students of the country, of any caste, any religion, any class, any race. We have to open. So that is equity and inclusion. And the reason of this exclusion means, what is the reason? If we know about the reason of exclusion in higher education, is the very first reason is our society, the backwardness of the society is responsible. What it is mean that the lack of knowledge of higher education opportunities available. Even now, we hardly find the families that have a good knowledge of their higher education opportunities available to their kids. Economic opportunities, cost of the pursuing higher education, financial constraints, admission process, geographical and language barriers is essentially very hard. Poor employability potentials of many higher education programs, because mushrooming of the number of institutions basically raise this problem of poor employability. Lack of appropriate student support mechanism is also responsible. Next slide, please. So once I talk about the research and research environment, so let us see what does it means about the research and research environment, or the promotion of the research environment. Once I talk about, or once we observe the support means support to the research fraternity in the developed countries like US, So then we see that the investment in the research and innovation in US is something like 2.6% of their GDP. Over 4% in South Korea and over 4% in Israel, 4.3% in Israel. I'm talking about their GDP, total GDP. But here in India, 0.69% means below than 1% of GDP. And when remember, when our 50% of the population is below 25 years of age, they are looking for or grasping for a good opportunity towards the higher educational or quality higher educational institutions here in India. So with this means, of course, this financial support is poor here in India. So present status of research and innovation at educational institutions in India is critical. It is clearly highlighted in this vision document of NEP. So what the ideal system is, and once we talk about the ideal system, means the good universities which are known for their research and research environment or the teaching potential worldwide is where the strong culture of research and knowledge creation means for the best teaching and learning at higher education occur where there is a strong culture of research and knowledge creation and a strong culture of research facilitated by, research and innovation investment or finance. So most of the very best research in the world have done in universities of multidisciplinary setting, having good investment support from public and private. Next slide, please. So once we talk about the regulatory, means the reforms in the regulatory system of higher education here in India, then instead to what? Because in the present scenario, we have a heavy concentration of power within few bodies. So that leads to conflicts of interest among these bodies, or ultimate the result is lacking of accountability. So what NEP is talking about, there should be a clear-cut separation of the regulatory bodies. So distinct function of regulations can be identified as there should be separate body for the accreditation, separate body for the funding, funding requirement of HEs, and separate bodies for the academic standards. So it should be, there should be a distinct, independent and empowered bodies for all accreditation, funding and academic standards. So, and this is proposing a body like Higher Education Commission of India that basically looks for example, if we talk about the regulation, then certainly National Higher Education Regulatory Council is responsible for this. We talk about the accreditation, then National Accreditation Council, NAC, is responsible. As far as funding is concerned, Higher Education Grants Council is to look the matters of funding, and the academic standards for setting up academic standards and regulations, General Education Council is responsible. So like that, separate and distinct and independent bodies are proposed. Next slide, please. This NEP is highlighted the role of technology in education, because we have a good support of ICT, India's global leader in ICT, and the Digital India campaign like transformation of whole nation into a digitally empowered society certainly helps to the use of technology in education. So a National Education Technology Forum is proposed, NETF, means how to use the technology for the purpose of learning, teaching, evolution process, supporting teachers and professional development, planning and management, admission, attendance, and assessment. So any TF is looking for the use of technology in every aspect of teaching learning prospects. And also you see that technology basically impacts education in multiple ways. For example, by adopting of the new technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchains, smart boards, handheld computing devices, other variety of hardware and software components, they can basically assist for the betterment of the teaching learning practices. Of course, the university offer the PhD and master programs in artificial intelligence and other areas, means AI plus other areas like healthcare, agriculture, and law. So by this multidisciplinary fields can basically fulfill or can meet the outcome of technology use and integration in education. Next slide, please. So you see that this online and digital educations, what example we can say the platform like SWAM and Diksha, they are certainly provide a backbone for equitable access or universalization of this education to every and what you can say that equitable access and inclusion of different aspects of society. So this advantage of technology, while acknowledging the potential risk and dangers, they should also basically face side by side. So we can say that availability of affordable computing devices, suitability with adequate training of teachers, online assessment, examination and evaluations, skill-based education with limited focus on social and effectiveness learning. So these, these risks must be evaluated a priori prior use of the technology, means online and digital education. Next slide, please. So we are coming towards, the end of our discussion. While proposing the transformation reforms in the higher education, then one aspect which is highlighted in this NOP 2020 is Indian knowledge system, languages, culture, and values. It should become the part of every curriculum at any level. So the focus on literature and scientific vocabulary of Indian languages. Because once we deal with the multidisciplinary aspects of learning, certainly knowledge system, language, culture, and values should be the part of that one. So the language faculty, research on languages, strengthening national institutes for promotion of classical language, Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretations, cultural awareness of our Indian knowledge system, traditional art and Lokvidya, school or school complex to have artists in residence. So in fact, you see that once I talk about the language, culture, and values, then the emphasis should be given. Means, if we say that the language is a matter of concern of the study, then how the languages are evolved, what are the factors to evolve the language? Because once we know the evolution of the language, then certainly we must able to understand about the thought process of a human being, the what you can say the understanding skills of the human being, the planning and decision making of the human being. So with this culture, in what way our culture is evolved, because we are growing in a closed system that is called family, culture, the values, the language, and so on. So with after knowing the facts and principles of all these aspects, certainly it would be better to deliver the things means to our kids or students at any level. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So after knowing this NEP, the proposal, recently UGC basically developed a draft, and it is available to all of us for getting the comments on the transforming higher education institutions in India in line of NEP 2020, and we are free to give the comments. And what the UGC proposal in respect to NEP 2020, it means the implementation of the new education policy from the coming sessions of 22 onwards. Then this means University Grant Commission issued the guidelines for transforming higher education institutions into multidisciplinary institutions, because major emphasis is given to change our institutions, means to change the face of institutions to multidisciplinary higher educational institutions. So all higher education institutions be transformed into the multidisciplinary universities, college and clusters and knowledge hubs. So this is the proposal of UGC, right? And types of the institutes that is envisaged by UGC are research intensive universities, mean multidisciplinary, means multidisciplinary RUs, multidisciplinary TUs, teaching intensive universities. And the third grade of institutions are degree awarding multidisciplinary autonomous colleges. They are certainly smaller than universities. So these are the types of university, the institutes that UGC are proposing now. And the objective is to convert single STEM institutions to the multidisciplinary large universities and strengthening institutions by adding departments. And by 2035, all affiliated colleges should become the degree awarding multidisciplinary autonomous institutions. So this is a very important recommendation that is highlighted by the UGC, and UGC is now basically wants for the comments from the public, right? And the merger of single STEM institutions with other multidisciplinary institutions. And everybody, if anyone is interested to get comments or to give their own view, then the UGC is welcome on this one. Next slide, please. So we come to the end of that one. So the outcomes of this NEP 2020 is something like from the school as well as the higher educational institutions are outlined here. Means the universalizations of the early child care education to secondary educations by 2030. Attaining foundational learning and numerical skills through national mission by 2025. 100% GR in preschools by 2030. Bring back 2 crores out of school children, come back to their respective places of different standards. Teacher to be prepared for assessment reforms by coming year. Inclusive and equitable education system by 2030. Board exams to be test core concepts. Every child will come out of school, adapt at least one skill. What I'm saying, the skills means which are deeply rooted, right? That is build, that basically builds the character. Common standards of learning in public and private schools. There is hardly any difference, should be there. As far as higher educational institution is concerned, the transforming of higher education institutions into multidisciplinary institutions, universities, or multidisciplinary autonomous colleges, and to allow affiliated colleges to become degree awarding multidisciplinary autonomous institutions by 2035. So these are the some of the brief outcomes of NEP 2020. The next slide. I think this is the end of this one. Thank you. Thank you very much. So any query or comments
Any participants?
Participants, if you have any query related to NEP 2020, so you can ask from sir.
I think it is very vast to understand in a single glance of sitting. But anyway, I make this presentation quite interesting to actually to feel something what is going on all around of us, and since we are all engaging to the higher institutions and see the issues and the problems in our day-to-day life and how the NEP is looking to address all these issues, it is interesting to see in the coming years.
Right. So it is interesting to listen about more and more about NEP, because this is very vast actually. Yes, you have truly said. So if no question, so then sir, we can conclude for today. And thank you participants, thank you sir for sparing time to being with us and share knowledge about the NEP 2020. So thank you very much sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And thank you Navinji. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you to all. Thanks to all participants for your patience hearing. Thank you.
Thank you participants. Then we will meet again by tomorrow at scheduled time, and we will have validatory session. Sir, I have invited you also over the mail.
Okay.
If you have time tomorrow, so you also can join. So at this time, 3:15, we have validatory time.
Okay, sure. I will try to join them.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Okay. Thank you, participant. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.